A complex bronze computer was found in a 2,000-year-old shipwreck. This device, known as the Antikythera Mechanism, could predict planetary movements with a sophistication that should not have existed in its time. Our journey into ancient mysteries begins with this incredible discovery. By the end of this exploration, you will see the entire timeline of human technological progress in a completely new light. We will uncover how the Romans created concrete that repairs itself and examine precision stonework that defies explanation. How is it possible that such advanced knowledge appears only to vanish for centuries? What does this tell us about the ingenuity of our ancestors? The Antikythera mechanism was not simply a curiosity pulled from the sea. It was a relic of a forgotten science, a machine that should not have existed for another 1,500 years. Its discovery in the early 20th century was accidental, found by sponge divers exploring a Roman-era shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera. The corroded lump of bronze and wood seemed unremarkable at first, but it held a secret locked inside. When it fractured, researchers glimpsed the ghost of a gear train, a complex clockwork frozen in time. This was not a statue or an amphora, it was a machine. Decades of painstaking investigation, including advanced X-ray and CT scanning, have since mapped its intricate soul. The device contained over 30 precisely cut bronze gears, some with teeth so fine they could only have been crafted by a master artisan. It modeled the erratic motions of the moon, predicted solar eclipses, and tracked the cycles of the Olympic Games. Most astonishingly, it used a differential gear, a complex arrangement of gears that allows for the calculation of relative speeds. This was a technology historians of science were certain had been invented in the 16th century for modern automobiles. Yet here it was in a device from the 1st century before the Common Era. The sheer sophistication of the mechanism points to a terrifying possibility. It was not a one-off miracle. It was a product of a developed tradition of Greek mechanical engineering, a school of thought and craftsmanship that flourished and then vanished from history. How could such profound knowledge simply disappear for millennia? This single device shatters our linear view of progress, forcing us to ask what other wonders were lost to the deep. But the brilliance of the ancient world was not confined to gears and astronomy. It also burned with a terrifying, unstoppable flame. For the Byzantine Empire, the secret of Greek fire was a matter of survival, a weapon so potent it could decide the fate of entire naval battles. Imagine a liquid inferno that clung to everything it touched, a fire that water only seemed to feed, blazing even on the surface of the sea. This was not mere pitch or oil. It was a sophisticated chemical weapon whose exact recipe remains one of history's most stubborn secrets, lost to time despite our modern analytical power. Historians and chemists have pieced together likely ingredients, suggesting a volatile cocktail of crude petroleum, quicklime that ignited on contact with water, and perhaps other resins or sulfur. Yet the precise formula eludes us, a testament to the advanced, guarded knowledge of Byzantine alchemists. The delivery system was equally advanced. This was not simply thrown in pots. The Byzantines deployed it through complex bronze pumps and pressurized siphons, projecting a continuous stream of liquid fire onto enemy ships with the force of a modern flamethrower. For 7 centuries, this technological marvel secured their naval dominance, a weapon that would not be matched in its horrific effectiveness until the development of napalm in the 20th century. How does such a complete and decisive technology simply vanish from the human toolkit? It forces us to reconsider the entire landscape of ancient chemical engineering, a field where profound mastery could arise, be protected as a state secret, and then disappear without a trace, leaving only legends of a fire that water could not quench. The same mastery that forged unquenchable fire was poured into the very stone and mortar of the empire. In the heart of Rome, the Pantheon's dome has loomed for nearly 2,000 years, a perfect hemisphere of concrete that still defies gravity. It remains the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, a title it has held since its completion, while our own modern concrete structures often show alarming decay after just 50 years. This is not a story of simple durability, but of a forgotten science of self-healing stone. Roman engineers did not simply mix sand and water. Their concrete was a sophisticated recipe of lime, volcanic ash, and small pieces of rock, all deliberately mixed with seawater. For centuries, we assumed their methods were crude, their success a happy accident of using available materials. Modern analysis has revealed the stunning truth. When Roman concrete was submerged in seawater, a remarkable chemical reaction occurred. The salt water interacted with the volcanic ash and lime to grow tiny, interlocking crystals of a mineral called aluminum tobamorite. These plate-like crystals are incredibly strong, and most importantly, they actually fill in any cracks that form over time. The concrete does not just resist damage, it actively repairs itself, becoming stronger with the passing centuries. This is a level of material science we have only just begun to comprehend and replicate in our most advanced laboratories. Think of the aqueducts that carried water for miles, and the harbors whose submerged piers still stand firm against relentless waves, while modern concrete disintegrates in the same conditions. The Romans were not just builders, they were molecular architects. They possessed a deep, practical understanding of chemistry that we are only now, with our electron microscopes and X-ray diffraction, learning to decode. This concrete is a silent testament to a technological peak that was somehow lost, forcing us to wonder what other secrets of longevity and resilience were buried by the sands of time. Far from the grand domes of Rome, another ancient secret lay buried in the Mesopotamian soil, one that hums with a different kind of power. In 1938, a German archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig was sifting through artifacts in the basement of the National Museum of Iraq when he made a baffling discovery. He found a collection of simple, fist-sized clay jars, each sealed with an asphalt plug. Inside each jar was a carefully rolled copper cylinder, and within that cylinder, an iron rod. The design was unmistakably deliberate, but its purpose was a complete mystery. When Koenig theorized that these jars could be filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or grape juice, he realized he was looking at the components of a simple chemical battery. Modern recreations have proven him right. Fill one of these replicas with a common acidic substance, and it can generate a small but measurable electrical charge, around 1.5 to 2 volts. That is enough power to produce a tangible tingle on the skin or to cause a small gold object to electroplate onto a silver surface. The implications are staggering. These objects, dating from the Parthian period around 2,000 years ago, suggest a working knowledge of electrical principles that should not have existed for another 17 centuries, long before the famous experiments with frog legs that sparked the modern study of electricity. The scholarly debate over their true use is fierce. Were they used by artisans to electroplate delicate jewelry, depositing a thin, shimmering layer of gold onto a less precious metal? Or were they employed in temples where a priest might use the mild, mysterious shock to create a sense of divine presence during a ritual? Both possibilities point to a sophisticated, practical application of a force that history insists remained hidden. This is not a complex machine with intricate gears, but something perhaps more profound. It is a simple, reproducible cell, a basic building block of electrical technology that was seemingly understood, utilized, and then forgotten, leaving behind only silent clay pots that hold the echo of a forgotten current. This same mystery of forgotten technology is etched on a grand scale into the very earth of Peru. The Nazca lines are more than just ancient art. They are a colossal engineering puzzle carved across a 500 square kilometer desert canvas. To create geoglyphs of such immense scale and perfect geometric precision, the Nazca people must have possessed a sophisticated toolkit that we have never found. How do you lay out a line that runs arrow straight for over 10 miles across rugged, uneven terrain without modern laser levels or GPS? How do you design a 300-meter-tall spider or a hummingbird with such perfect proportions that its form is only recognizable from the air? The conventional explanation of simple stakes and ropes feels utterly inadequate for a project of this staggering scope and accuracy. Some researchers have put forward a truly audacious theory that the Nazca people achieved flight. They point to ancient ceramic pots discovered in the region, vessels with clear signs of soot and burn marks on their rims. These, they suggest, could have been the burners for primitive hot air balloons. A single balloon lifting a designer high above the plateau would provide the aerial perspective needed to direct teams below, ensuring the colossal figures retained their perfect form. This is not wild speculation, it is a practical solution to a practical problem. The geometric precision of the sprawling trapezoids and triangles reveals a deep understanding of mathematics and optical principles. They may have used simple but effective surveying tools, like a basic theodolite made from a sighting tube and plumb lines, to project these immense shapes onto the landscape with an accuracy that still baffles us today. These lines are not merely drawings, they are the physical evidence of a lost technical manual, a demonstration of planning and execution that forces us to completely rethink the capabilities of pre-Columbian civilizations. What other knowledge, equally profound, was applied not to building domes or batteries, but to transforming an entire landscape into a message we are still struggling to read? The silence of the desert holds another secret, one carved from millions of tons of stone. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a monument to precision, so absolute it defies the tools we believe were available. Its four sides are aligned to the four cardinal directions with an error of just 1/15 of a degree, a feat of surveying that seems almost supernatural. This is not merely stacking blocks, this is geodetic engineering on a colossal scale. The very shape of the pyramid encodes mathematical truths. The ratio of its perimeter to its height equals 2 times pi, while the proportions within its chambers and passages reflect the golden ratio, a number celebrated for its aesthetic perfection. How could a civilization without modern calculators or advanced symbolic mathematics embed such constants into their architecture with such staggering accuracy? The mystery deepens when you look at the construction itself. The massive limestone blocks are fitted together with joints so tight you cannot slide a credit card between them. This is not rough stonework, it is a precision fit that would challenge modern masons with diamond-tipped saws. The conventional explanation of copper chisels and sand abrasives feels insufficient for work of this caliber, leaving a void filled with extraordinary theories. Some researchers propose the Egyptians had mastered a form of acoustic levitation, using resonant frequencies to make the immense stones temporarily weightless, allowing small teams to maneuver them into place. Others suggest they possessed a chemical compound, a plant-based slurry that could temporarily soften stone to a clay-like consistency, making it possible to mold and shape the blocks with perfect seams before the material re-hardened. Perhaps the truth lies in a forgotten system of mechanics, a complex arrangement of levers, counterweights, and pulleys that provided a mechanical advantage far beyond what we have credited them with. Whatever the method, the result is undeniable. The Great Pyramid is not a tomb built by brute force. It is a machine of stone, a perfect geometric expression of a knowledge that was recorded not in scrolls, but in the very angles and alignments of its being, a knowledge we have yet to fully recover. That same understanding of invisible forces was captured in a beautiful bronze vessel in ancient China. 2,000 years ago, a brilliant inventor named Zhang presented the Han court with a machine that could sense earthquakes from hundreds of miles away. It was not a crude alarm, but an object of art and profound science. A large, ornate urn was encircled by 8 dragon heads, each holding a single bronze ball in its jaws. Below each dragon sat a corresponding bronze frog with its mouth wide open. The elegance of its exterior, however, hid a mechanical genius within. Inside the vessel, scholars believe, a heavy pendulum was suspended with great precision. When the faintest tremors of a distant quake traveled through the earth, the pendulum would swing, striking a lever that would release just one of the bronze balls. That ball would drop with a clang directly into the mouth of the frog below, clearly pointing to the direction from which the earthquake had originated. The court officials were reportedly skeptical until one day, a dragon released its ball, though no tremor was felt in the capital. Days later, a messenger arrived from a region far to the west, reporting a massive earthquake had struck on the exact day and in the direction the device had indicated. Modern engineers who have recreated Zhang Heng's seismoscope have confirmed its startling sensitivity. It likely operated on the principle of an inverted pendulum, a concept so advanced it would not be formally developed in the West for another 1,500 years. This was more than an early warning system. It was a physical manifestation of a deep understanding of wave physics, a machine that could feel the heartbeat of the planet itself through vibrations no human could perceive. How many other such instruments, blending art and empirical science, have been lost to us? Zhang Heng's device stands as a quiet monument to a path of technological inquiry that was both brilliant and, tragically, a dead end. This resistance to decay has a name, a secret whispered in the language of chemistry. The pillar is shielded by a microscopically thin, dark blue-gray film called mesowite. This is not a lucky patina formed by chance. It is a self-renewing protective barrier, a passive layer that actively prevents the iron beneath from reacting with oxygen and moisture. Modern metallurgical analysis reveals that this miracle coating formed because the ancient Indian ironworkers used a specific high-phosphorus iron ore in their smelting process. They did not remove the phosphorus as modern steelmakers do because they consider it an impurity that makes steel brittle. Instead, they embraced it. Their unique manufacturing method, which involved hammering and forging the metal in a way that incorporated the phosphorus evenly, created the precise chemical conditions for mesowite to form naturally over time. We now understand the science, yet our attempts to perfectly replicate the process have fallen short. This was not an accident. It was a deliberate and masterful application of material science, a formula perfected and then somehow forgotten. The forging of the pillar itself is another profound mystery. Creating a single, solid piece of wrought iron of this immense size, over 7 meters tall and weighing more than 6 tons, was a monumental feat in an era before industrial furnaces. The iron had to be heated and worked by teams of artisans wielding heavy hammers, a colossal undertaking of coordination and skill that speaks to a highly advanced and organized metallurgical tradition. For 16 centuries, this pillar has stood as a silent, uncorroded sentinel, a testament to a forgotten school of engineering that understood the soul of metal in a way we are only now relearning. What other formulas for longevity, for perfect alloys and resilient materials, were lost in the turning of the ages, leaving us to rebuild that knowledge from scratch. This mastery of water reveals itself not in rust-resistant iron, but in the heart of the jungle. Deep within the ancient city of Palenque, archaeologists uncovered a hydraulic system that defies everything we thought we knew about Mayan engineering. They did not merely channel water, they commanded it. By constructing aqueducts with a sudden, sharp drop in elevation, the Maya harnessed a fundamental principle of fluid dynamics. When water rushes down a constricted channel and then is forced into a smaller outlet, its velocity increases dramatically, creating pressure. The Maya designed their stone conduits to exploit this exact phenomenon, generating enough force to push water upwards, creating fountains that would have jet into the air for all to see. This was not a happy accident of gravity. It was a deliberate and sophisticated application of hydraulic pressure, a concept that would not be systematically developed in Europe for many more centuries. Their entire water management network was a marvel of urban planning. It included intricate filtration systems to remove debris, cleverly designed sedimentation tanks that allowed silt to settle out, and precise control mechanisms to regulate the flow and pressure throughout the city. They turned the relentless tropical rains into a controlled, life-sustaining resource. This discovery shatters a long-held belief that civilizations in the New World lacked the complex mechanical understanding found in the Old. The Maya were not just astronomers and calendar makers, they were civil engineers of the highest order. They looked at a flowing stream and saw not just water, but potential energy, a force to be calculated, manipulated, and made to serve their grand vision. How many other such systems, just as advanced, lie buried and unexcavated, waiting to rewrite our understanding of ancient innovation once more? The principles of steam power were not a sudden invention of the 18th century. They were understood, demonstrated, and then inexplicably shelved in the 1st century. In the Great Library of Alexandria, a master engineer named Hero described a remarkable device he called the Aeolipile. It was a simple yet profound invention, a sealed sphere mounted on a boiler. As the water heated, steam was forced through two bent nozzles on opposite sides of the sphere, causing the entire apparatus to spin rapidly on its axis. This was not merely a curious trick, it was a working model of jet propulsion and rotational force, a primitive steam turbine built 1700 years before such concepts would power the modern world. For generations, historians have largely dismissed Hero's engine as a philosophical toy, a neat demonstration with no practical application, but that perspective is rapidly changing. Modern engineering analysis reveals that scaling up the Aeolipile's design, using materials available at the time, could have produced a machine capable of performing real work. A larger version could have turned a millstone, powered a simple pump, or automated temple doors to create awe-inspiring displays of divine power. The rotational force was real and measurable. The knowledge was present, the potential was staggering. Imagine a different timeline where this seed of an idea was nurtured instead of forgotten. If the economic and social conditions had been right, if the concept had been applied to solve pressing industrial problems, the great machinery of the Industrial Revolution, with its steam engines and factories, could have begun its rumble in the ancient world. The Aeolipile stands as one of history's most poignant what-ifs. It proves that the conceptual leap to harness steam was made, yet the cultural leap to transform that concept into a world-changing technology never followed. Why did this spark fail to catch fire? Was it a lack of need, a surplus of slave labor that made mechanical alternatives seem unnecessary? Or was this brilliant knowledge, like so much else, kept within the walls of a library that would one day burn, leaving only a description of a spinning sphere as a ghost of a future that never was. While the ancient world spun spheres with steam, other cultures mastered the art of moving air itself. In the heart of the Persian desert, architects engineered the sky to bring comfort to the sweltering earth. They built wind-catchers, tall, chimney-like towers that rose from the rooftops, designed not to release smoke, but to capture the slightest breath of wind. This was not simple ventilation. It was a sophisticated manipulation of thermodynamics, a form of natural air conditioning so effective it rivals the principles in our modern climate control systems. The genius of the wind-catcher lies in its elegant simplicity. The tower, often topped with vents facing the prevailing winds, funnels the hot, dry desert breeze downward. But the air does not enter the living quarters directly. Instead, it is channeled over cold surfaces, often the water of a kanat, which is an underground aqueduct, or through subterranean chambers cooled by the earth itself. As the air passes over these cold masses, it surrenders its heat, becoming denser and cooler before it gently spills into the room below. The system is a perfect closed loop, as the now warmer air inside the building rises and is expelled through other openings in the structure, creating a continuous, self-regulating cycle of cooling. Some of the most advanced designs even incorporated humidity control, using the same water channels to add moisture to the dry desert air or to condense and remove it, achieving a level of indoor comfort that was nothing short of miraculous. The temperature difference could be staggering, with these passive systems maintaining interiors up to 20 degrees cooler than the blistering heat outside. This was a deep, intuitive understanding of fluid dynamics and heat transfer, applied without a single watt of electricity. It represents a pinnacle of sustainable design, a green technology perfected millennia ago that we are only now, in an age of energy crises, beginning to fully appreciate and emulate. How many other such elegant solutions to environmental challenges were developed by our ancestors, only to be discarded in our rush toward power-hungry complexity? The wind-catcher stands as a silent, graceful testament to a different path, one of working in harmony with the elements. High on a mountain plateau, the stone walls of Sacsayhuaman defy belief. These are not simple stacked blocks, but a colossal three-dimensional puzzle where some of the individual stones weigh more than 100 tons. Their shapes are wildly irregular, a collection of polygons with 12, even 14 sides, yet they fit together with a seamlessness that seems to deny the very nature of stone. You cannot slip a razor blade, let alone a piece of paper, between them. This is not merely master stonemasonry. It is a form of geometric magic carved in granite. The sheer scale and precision present a dual mystery. How were these behemoths quarried, shaped, and transported up a mountain without the wheel or draft animals? And why did the builders choose such an incredibly complex and labor-intensive method? The answer lies deep within the Earth. Peru is one of the most seismically active regions on the planet, and the Incas were brilliant empirical engineers. They observed that during an earthquake, rigid, rectangular structures with straight mortar joints tend to crack and crumble as the ground shakes. Their polygonal walls, however, were designed to dance. When seismic waves hit, the interlocking stones, with their complex angles and friction-fit joints, do not resist the movement. Instead, they shift and sway, rocking against each other before settling back into their original positions. The wall absorbs and dissipates the energy, moving as a single, flexible entity. It is a system of seismic dampening so advanced that modern engineers study it for inspiration. This reveals a profound understanding of structural dynamics, a knowledge born from centuries of observing how the Earth moves. But this brilliant design only deepens the central enigma of their construction. How did they achieve such impossible fits between stones of such immense hardness? The andesite granite they used is notoriously difficult to work, yet the surfaces are flawlessly smooth and the corners sharply defined. The theory of pounding stones with harder rocks seems hopelessly crude for this level of perfection. Some researchers suggest the Inca might have discovered a plant-based chemical agent, a slurry that could temporarily soften the surface of the stone, allowing artisans to mold and polish it almost like clay before it rehardened. Others point to the possibility of sonic tools, using precisely tuned vibrations to resonate with the crystalline structure of the granite, effectively causing it to fracture along predetermined, perfectly smooth planes. While we lack concrete evidence for these specific techniques, the walls themselves are the evidence that such a technology existed. They are a permanent record of a lost art, a method of construction that created resilience not through brute mass, but through intelligent, fluid geometry. These silent stones have outlasted empires and withstood countless quakes, standing as a timeless lesson in durability that we are only now beginning to fully decode. While the Incas mastered the dance of stone, the Vikings read secrets in the very light of the sky. Their legendary voyages across the treacherous North Atlantic were guided by a tool that sounds like pure magic, a sunstone. Medieval sagas describe these crystals allowing navigators to pinpoint the sun's location on completely overcast days, even when it was just below the horizon. For centuries, this was dismissed as mere myth, but science has now caught up with the sagas. Researchers have identified the sunstone as a transparent crystal of Iceland spar, a form of calcite. This remarkable mineral has a property called birefringence. It splits a beam of light into two separate paths. By rotating the crystal and looking through it toward the sky, a Viking navigator could detect patterns of polarized light, invisible to the naked eye, that form a bullseye around the sun. They would turn the stone until the two beams of light shining through it matched in intensity, and that alignment would point directly to the sun's hidden position. Recent maritime experiments have proven this method is startlingly accurate, capable of determining the sun's location within a single degree, even in twilight or heavy cloud cover. This was not guesswork, it was a sophisticated application of optical physics. This crystal technology was just one part of a complex navigation system. Vikings also used primitive but effective wooden navigation boards. These were engraved with curved lines and had a movable peg, allowing a skipper to track his ship's progress and estimate latitude by measuring the sun's altitude at noon. Imagine the scene, a wooden longship battling gray, heaving waves under a featureless sky. While any other sailor would be utterly lost, a Viking navigator holds his sunstone to the gloom, finds the hidden sun, and consults his carved board. He is not sailing blind, he is following a celestial map written in polarized light. This combination of tools provided a functional, reproducible method for crossing thousands of miles of open ocean. It explains how they could reliably reach Iceland, Greenland, and the coast of North America centuries before Columbus, whose own crews would have been terrified to sail so far from land. The Vikings were not just raiders and traders, they were master mariners wielding a lost science of light, a technological sophistication that allowed them to conquer the Atlantic long before the rest of the world dared to try. While Viking ships navigated by polarized light, an entire palace on Crete enjoyed the comforts of running water and flushing toilets. The Palace of Knossos, the vibrant heart of Minoan civilization, was not merely a collection of grand rooms and colorful frescoes. It was a living machine, a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering built around 2,000 years before the Common Era. Its walls concealed a hidden network of terracotta pipes, meticulously laid with sealed joints to prevent leaks, channeling fresh water throughout the complex. But the true marvel was in the private quarters, where the world's first known flushing toilets were installed. These were not crude pits. A sophisticated drainage system built beneath the palace floors used gravity to carry waste away through stone conduits, while a separate network of channels was dedicated solely to managing stormwater. This deliberate separation of sewage from rainwater runoff is a fundamental principle of modern public health, yet the Minoans implemented it nearly 4,000 years ago. They even engineered clever water control devices that functioned like primitive valves, preventing dangerous backflow and maintaining consistent pressure within their pipes. This was not a sporadic innovation. It was a comprehensive, integrated system that reflected a deep understanding of hydraulics and sanitation. The knowledge required to design and maintain such a network implies the existence of specialized engineers, of a formalized body of knowledge passed down through generations. For centuries after the mysterious collapse of Minoan society, European cities would wallow in their own filth, with waste simply tossed into the streets. The sophisticated public health safeguards of Knossos would not be seen again on the continent until the great sanitary revolution of the 19th century. How does a society achieve such a profound level of civic engineering, only to have every trace of its methodology vanish for ages? The silent, empty bathrooms of Knossos stand as a haunting reminder of a comfort and cleanliness that was lost for millennia, a ghost of a civilization that understood the flow of water as the very pulse of a healthy city. These ancient surgical tools were not primitive blades. The Sushruta Samhita, a medical text from 600 years before the Common Era, catalogues a breathtaking array of 125 specialized instruments. This was not a simple list. It was a comprehensive surgical toolkit describing forceps for extracting objects, probes for exploring wounds, scalpels of various shapes for precise incisions, and specialized needles for suturing. Each tool was designed with a clear understanding of ergonomics and its specific task, a level of specialization that would not reappear in the Western world for over 2,000 years. The text does not just name them, it details their use in 300 different procedures, from complex cataract surgery and cesarean sections to intricate plastic reconstruction of noses and ears. Imagine the scene: a surgeon in ancient India performing a delicate operation to remove a clouded lens from a patient's eye, restoring their sight with tools and techniques that medieval Europe would have considered impossible magic. This knowledge was not guesswork. The Sushruta Samhita reveals a profound understanding of human anatomy, gained through meticulous dissection, and a sophisticated grasp of sterilization and wound management. They used antiseptic substances like turmeric and honey to prevent infection, and understood the importance of keeping surgical environments clean. The existence of such a detailed and advanced medical system points to a long tradition of empirical science and formalized training. How could such a complete and effective surgical technology, capable of life-saving and life-changing operations, simply fade from common practice for centuries? These instruments are ghosts of a forgotten standard of medicine, a high watermark of healing that receded, leaving behind only a text to testify to its one-time existence. Far out at sea, the true power of Carthage remained hidden behind massive walls. The city's circular military harbor was a technological fortress, a masterpiece of naval engineering designed for one ruthless purpose: to project overwhelming force across the Mediterranean. At first glance from the water, an approaching enemy would only see a high, windowless perimeter, a blank stone face giving no hint of the armada concealed within. But inside that protected circle, the water itself was organized for war. The central island held the admiral's headquarters, and radiating out from the basin like the spokes of a wheel were long, covered ship sheds. These were not simple docks, but vast, roofed galleries capable of sheltering over 170 warships at a time, protecting their precious wooden hulls from the sun, shipworms, and prying eyes. The true genius of this harbor lay in its launch systems. Each ship rested not on a stationary berth, but on a massive rotating platform. Think of a giant circular turntable built right into the dock, capable of holding multiple triremes at once. When the call to battle came, these platforms could be turned, aligning the sleek warships with the exit channels. This allowed the entire fleet to be launched in a rapid, continuous stream, a terrifying spectacle of naval power emerging in minutes rather than hours. It was an ancient equivalent of a modern aircraft carrier's flight deck operations, a system of orchestrated movement designed for maximum speed and devastating surprise. Keeping this complex harbor functional required another stroke of engineering brilliance: advanced sluice gates that managed the delicate balance of water and land. The Carthaginians faced a constant battle against silt, the sediment that rivers relentlessly dump into coastal waters, slowly choking ports into useless mudflats. Their solution was a network of cleverly designed gates and channels. They could control the flow of water into the harbor, using the current itself to scour away accumulating silt and debris, flushing it back out to sea. This maintenance-free design kept the basin deep and clear, ensuring that even their largest ships never ran aground within their own home. This single innovation, a system of self-cleaning hydraulics, was a level of maritime infrastructure that would not be rivaled until the development of modern dry docks and shipyards thousands of years later. Every element of this harbor, from the rotating platforms to the anti-silt gates, speaks of a deep, specialized knowledge of maritime engineering, a science honed for domination. This was not just a place to park ships, it was a machine for waging war, a tangible expression of the logistical and technological superiority that made Carthage the great rival of Rome. Yet when the Romans finally sacked the city, they so thoroughly destroyed this complex that its precise mechanisms remained a mystery for centuries, known only from ancient descriptions. Modern archaeologists, piecing together the foundations from the mud, are still unraveling the full sophistication of this lost naval technology, a chilling reminder of how completely a civilization's most advanced knowledge can be erased from the earth. While the Carthaginians perfected their naval fortress, a different kind of machine was reaching for the stars in ancient China. In the late 11th century, a brilliant scholar official named Su Song presented the emperor with a Tower of Time, a monumental clock that captured the rhythm of the heavens. This was the water-driven armillary sphere and celestial globe, a structure over 30 feet tall that did far more than tell the hour. Its heart beat with a revolutionary invention, the escapement. This mechanism, a set of weighted levers and hooks that caught and released a water wheel, transformed a continuous flow of power into a measured, tick-tock motion. It was the soul of accurate timekeeping, a principle that would not appear in European clockwork for nearly 200 years. Imagine the sound of this colossal apparatus, the gentle splash of water turning the great wheel, punctuated by the precise click of the escapement regulating its speed with unerring consistency. The power from this regulated wheel was then transferred throughout the wooden tower by another innovation, a massive chain drive. This endless loop of linked metal, a precursor to the chain on a modern bicycle, efficiently delivered force to animate the clock's many displays. At the top, a complex armillary sphere modeled the positions of the stars and planets, while a celestial globe rotated in sync, mapping the night sky for any given date. This was not a simple timepiece, it was a dynamic orrery, a planetarium, and a public clock all in one. Every component, from the escapement to the chain drive to the intricate gear trains, reveals a mature and self-contained tradition of mechanical engineering. Song did not build his tower in a vacuum. He was drawing upon a centuries-old lineage of Chinese machine makers, a school of thought that understood precision gearing and power transmission as a solved problem. The existence of such a sophisticated device forces a profound question. If this knowledge was so advanced and so well documented, why did it not trigger an industrial revolution in the East, just as clockwork would later help to catalyze one in the West? The tower, like the Antikythera Mechanism, stands as a monument to a parallel path of technological progress, one that achieved breathtaking heights only to see its most profound secrets eventually fade into silence. The stones themselves seem to sing. Deep within the subterranean chambers of Malta's Hal Saflieni hypogeum, a low chant can be transformed into a haunting resonance that vibrates through your very bones. This 6,000-year-old temple complex, carved from solid limestone, is not just a silent tomb but a sophisticated acoustic instrument. Specific frequencies, particularly those within the range of the human voice, are amplified with startling clarity, while others are dampened or create strange, lingering echoes that defy normal acoustics. This was no accident of architecture. The builders carved the chambers with specific parabolic shapes and calculated the angles of the walls to create these effects, a deliberate manipulation of sound that required a deep, intuitive grasp of wave physics. Modern acoustic engineers, with their sensitive microphones and spectrum analyzers, have mapped these properties and found that the so-called oracle chamber resonates powerfully at 110 Hz, a frequency known to affect human brain activity, potentially altering states of consciousness. Across the sea, the massive stone passage tomb of Newgrange in Ireland holds a similar secret. Its long, narrow corridor and beehive-shaped inner chamber are designed to enhance the harmonic overtones of the human voice. When you speak inside that sacred space, your voice is not just louder, it is richer, fuller, as if the very stones are adding their own chorus. This effect is produced by a precise understanding of wave interference, where sound waves reflecting off the intricately placed stones reinforce certain frequencies and cancel out others. How could Neolithic builders, without any formal understanding of sound waves, achieve such precise acoustic engineering? They were not merely stacking rocks for stability. They were tuning the stone, shaping their sacred spaces to control the sensory experience of ritual. They understood that sound was a physical force that could be sculpted, a tool to create awe, to facilitate communication with the divine, or to mark the sacred nature of a space. These ancient temples stand as a testament to a forgotten science of vibration, a knowledge that was felt, heard, and built into the bedrock of their world, leaving behind a resonance we are only now learning to measure. While the stones of Malta resonated with sound, another culture was mapping the silent music of the stars. In the bustling intellectual centers of the 8th century Islamic world, scholars perfected an instrument of breathtaking elegance and function, the astrolabe. Crafted from polished brass, this handheld device was a portable universe, a flat, circular computer that could solve complex problems of time, direction, and celestial motion. Its face was a beautiful labyrinth of engraved lines and curves, a two-dimensional map of the three-dimensional sky. This was not mere decoration. It was a precise mathematical projection, a way of flattening the celestial sphere onto a portable disk using a specific geometric formula known as stereographic projection. A user could rotate an overlying fretwork of pointers called a retere to align with the current date and time, instantly revealing which stars were visible, the sun's position, or the precise direction of Mecca for prayer. It was a smartphone for the medieval astronomer, navigator, and theologian, all contained within a single, exquisite object. Some of the most advanced astrolabes incorporated intricate internal gearwork, mechanisms startlingly reminiscent of the Antikythera device. These geared components could model the irregular motions of the planets, predicting their positions in the night sky with a degree of accuracy that would not be matched in Europe for hundreds of years. The creation of such an instrument required a profound synthesis of knowledge, a deep understanding of advanced geometry, astronomy, and precision metalworking. It was this very sophistication that powered a golden age of discovery, enabling explorers to navigate vast deserts and oceans with newfound confidence, and allowing cities to synchronize their clocks to the sun and stars. How many other such compact marvels of engineering, these analog computers, were conceived and then lost, their principles having to be painfully rediscovered by later civilizations. The astrolabe stands as a quiet testament to a parallel stream of technological progress, one where complex calculation was not performed on a screen, but was held quite literally in the palm of your hand. The brilliance of ancient metallurgy was not confined to the Old World. In the arid river valleys of coastal Peru, the Moche people were perfecting a form of alchemy that seems to defy time itself. They created objects of breathtaking beauty, copper masks and ornaments shimmering with a flawless, molecularly bonded layer of gold. For decades, archaeologists assumed these were simply examples of skillful gilding, where a thin sheet of gold was hammered onto a copper base. But the truth is far more astonishing. The Moche were electroplating. They were using a chemical process nearly identical to the one suggested by the Baghdad batteries, depositing gold onto copper through an electrochemical reaction. Modern attempts to replicate their results without an external power source have been a humbling struggle. The prevailing theory is that they used a natural acidic electrolyte, like fermented fruit juice, and created a galvanic cell by suspending a gold object and a copper object in the solution. The gold would slowly dissolve and then redeposit itself evenly onto the copper, creating a permanent, corrosion-resistant coating of stunning uniformity. This was not a simple craft, it was controlled corrosion, a deep understanding of chemical principles that should have been millennia away. Their knowledge extended far beyond surface finishes. Moche smiths demonstrated a masterful command of alloy compositions, meticulously blending copper with gold or silver to create materials with specific, desirable properties. They knew that by adding a precise amount of arsenic to copper, they could produce a metal that was significantly harder and more durable, perfect for tools and weapons. This required an intimate, empirical knowledge of temperature control, using blowpipes and specialized furnaces to maintain the exact heat needed to melt and combine different metals without causing oxidation or creating brittle compounds. They were not merely melting ore, they were programming the very structure of the metal. This independent technological path reached its zenith with the lost wax casting techniques perfected by later Mesoamerican cultures like the Mixtec. An artisan would first sculpt a detailed model out of beeswax, every feather on a headdress or curl on a lip rendered in perfect detail. This wax model was then encased in a clay mold and heated, melting the wax out and leaving a perfect hollow cavity. Molten gold was poured into this space, capturing every minute detail of the original wax sculpture. The result was jewelry and ceremonial objects of such intricate filigree and delicate complexity that European metalsmiths of the same era could only have looked upon them with utter disbelief. This is not a minor footnote in history. The Moche and their successors developed a complete and sophisticated metallurgical tradition entirely on their own, without any influence from across the oceans. Their achievements stand as a powerful, silent challenge to the comfortable, linear narrative of technological progress that places one civilization at the forefront of innovation. Here in the Americas, a parallel stream of engineering brilliance was flowing. discovering through its own unique experiments the same profound truths about the nature of matter and energy. They solved the same complex problems and arrived at similarly advanced solutions, proving that human ingenuity is not a monopoly of one culture or one continent. The real mystery is not how they did it, but why we are so often surprised that they could. The Antikythera Mechanism was not an isolated miracle. Scattered through the writings of ancient philosophers and poets are tantalizing hints of a much wider world of mechanical computation. Cicero himself described a magnificent device built by Archimedes, a bronze sphere that replicated the motions of the sun, moon, and 5 known planets with such accuracy it could predict solar eclipses and lunar phases. This was not a static model, but a dynamic, working orrery powered by an unseen, intricate clockwork. The sphere was so revered that it was carried off to Rome as a prize of war, a trophy celebrating not just a military victory, but the conquest of a superior technology. Other inventors, like Hero of Alexandria, took this mechanical artistry in a different direction, creating entire automated theaters. These were not simple puppets, but complex sequences of moving figures driven by weighted strings, rotating drums, and gear trains that played out entire mythological plays. Doors would open automatically, small figures would move across a stage, and sound effects would echo, all without a human hand touching them. These were the blockbuster special effects of their day, demonstrations of a profound understanding of automation and programmed sequence. The common thread running through all these descriptions is a sophisticated language of gearwork, a science of translating cosmic rhythms and human stories into the turning of precisely cut bronze cogs. This points to a vibrant, established tradition of engineering, a school of thought where the principles of differential gearing and mechanical computation were not just known, but were being applied to both scientific inquiry and public spectacle. How many of these brilliant analog computers were melted down for scrap metal or lost to the damp cellars of time? The Antikythera Mechanism, by sheer chance, survived to give us a single, corroded page from what was clearly a vast and advanced library of mechanical knowledge. Its silent gears are a ghostly echo of a technological path that was open, thriving, and then, for reasons we still struggle to comprehend, abruptly closed. That same command of water that built fountains and harbors was also turned to a far more destructive purpose, the systematic dismantling of mountains. In the red earth landscape of Los Medulas in Spain, the Romans did not simply dig for gold, they orchestrated a geological cataclysm. This was hydraulic mining on a scale that feels chillingly modern. They first constructed vast aqueduct systems, some stretching over 100 kilometers, to amass a colossal reservoir of water high in the hills. Then, in a carefully timed operation, they would unleash this pent-up force through a network of tunnels they had carved deep inside the mountain. The technique was called ruina montium, the ruin of the mountain. It was not a metaphor. The sudden, explosive force of the water would liquefy the entire hillside from within, causing it to collapse in a roaring cascade of mud and stone. This was not a matter of luck, it was applied geology and hydraulics. The engineers had to possess an intimate understanding of rock strata, of water pressure, and of structural weaknesses to make a mountain fall on command. The resulting slurry was then channeled through long sluices where the heavier gold particles would settle out, separated from the debris, but the engineering did not stop at the surface. As their minds delved deeper, they faced the constant threat of flooding. Their solution was a machine of elegant ingenuity, the reverse overshot water wheel. Dozens of these massive wooden wheels, powered by miners treading on them, were installed in cascading sequences deep underground. Instead of using flowing water to turn the wheel, they used human power to make the wheel lift water, bucket by bucket, from the flooded mine shafts up to the next level, where another wheel would continue the ascent. It was a continuous, mechanical dewatering system that allowed them to reach depths previously thought impossible in the ancient world. The entire operation, from the continent-spanning aqueducts to the synchronized chains of water wheels, represents a level of industrial organization and technological capability that would not be rivaled for over 1,500 years. This was not the work of a simple society with pickaxes. It was a coordinated enterprise that merged civil engineering, mechanical invention, and brute force on a proto-industrial scale. It forces us to ask a profound question. If they could achieve this, what other industrial potentials were within their grasp, only to be forgotten when the empire's thirst for gold finally receded? Deep within the pyramids, far from any entrance, the air holds a secret too clean to be true. Archaeologists have long been puzzled by the complete absence of soot stains on the ceilings and walls of the deepest burial chambers. If workers and artists relied on flickering oil lamps or smoky torches to illuminate their work, the evidence of that fire should be everywhere. Yet these intricate, perfectly painted hieroglyphs were created in pristine conditions, without a single mark from smoke or flame. This simple observation opens a door to a profound technological mystery. How did the ancient Egyptians see to perform their most sacred artwork in utter blackness? One compelling theory points to a clever manipulation of sunlight. They may have used massive, highly polished sheets of copper, bronze, or even silver, acting as mirrors. By strategically placing these reflectors in a chain, they could have bounced daylight from the outside, channeling it deep into the tomb's core through a series of shafts and corridors. A simple experiment with modern mirrors has shown this is entirely possible, filling a dark chamber with a soft, diffuse glow sufficient to work by. But what about the innermost rooms, those sealed from any possible shaft of light? Here, the theories become even more fascinating. Some researchers point to the famous wall reliefs in the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. These carvings depict bizarre, oversized objects. They show what look like giant light bulbs with sinuous filaments curled inside, connected by cables to a box that appears to be held by a priest. To some, these are unmistakable representations of electrical incandescent lamps. The proponents of this idea suggest the so-called Baghdad batteries, found hundreds of miles away, could have been part of a wider, understood technology for generating a current, providing the power to make these filaments glow. While mainstream Egyptology interprets these carvings as symbolic representations of a snake being born from a lotus flower, the visual similarity is striking enough to fuel endless debate. Perhaps the truth was a combination of methods. Maybe they possessed a form of chemical lighting, creating long-lasting, cool, burning luminescence from a forgotten formula of minerals and oils that left no residue. The sheer scale and precision of the work in these lightless voids demands an explanation beyond a man holding a single, sputtering torch. The walls themselves are the proof that they solved the problem of underground illumination with a consistency and clarity we can scarcely account for. This leaves us with a haunting void, not of darkness but of lost knowledge. What brilliant, simple technology allowed them to conquer the dark so completely that its very use left no trace for us to find? These ancient drill holes cut a silent, stubborn groove through the accepted timeline of technology. In the hard granite of Egypt and the unforgiving andesite of Peru, we find artifacts pierced with holes so precise they defy the tools we know these cultures possessed. The evidence is not in grand structures, but in these small, circular wounds in the stone. When a solid core is extracted from a block, it should show the rough, chaotic scarring of a hand-powered drill laboriously grinding its way down. Instead, the cores pulled from ancient Egyptian sites like Giza show something entirely different. They are marked with perfectly consistent, deep spiral grooves running the entire length of the cylinder. This pattern is a telltale signature, a fossil of the drill bit's movement. For such a groove to form, the drill had to be sinking into the granite at a constant, astonishingly rapid rate, feeding downward by millimeters with every single revolution. Modern engineers recognize this immediately. It is the exact same mark left by a modern, power-fed drill press using diamond-tipped bits. The ancient drill was not just spinning, it was being driven downward with immense, sustained, and perfectly even pressure. How could a craftsman using a simple bow drill, a tool we believe was their standard, achieve such a thing? The physics simply do not add up. The force required to make a drill bite that deeply into granite with each turn would be impossible for a human to maintain by hand, and the wooden shaft of the drill would have shattered under the strain. The mystery deepens when we look inside stone vessels from pre-dynastic Egypt. Many of these containers, carved from brittle materials like schist, have impossibly sharp internal corners. Think of the inside corner of a square box where two walls meet at a perfect 90-degree angle. A simple stone tool, even one used with a guiding rope, would always leave a gently rounded curve in that corner. To achieve a razor-sharp, perfectly clean internal angle, you would need a tool that moved with absolute rigidity, something like a fixed, rotating point following a precise track, the essence of a modern milling machine. The implications are staggering. These artifacts suggest the use of advanced machining technology that provided not just rotational speed, but also immense, stabilized force and guided linear movement. Perhaps they used a system of weighted levers and pulleys to apply the constant feed pressure, or a complex abrasive slurry of crushed quartz and water sprayed onto a copper tube drill, all powered by a multi-person capstan that turned the drill shaft with unerring consistency. Yet we have never found the remains of such a machine. This is a technology that appears in its finished products, in the negative space of a drill hole or the perfect edge of a vase, and then vanishes from the archaeological record, leaving behind only the silent, stubborn stone to testify to its one-time existence. Zhang Heng's earthquake detector was not a forgotten marvel, but the spark of a scientific tradition. In the centuries that followed his death, Chinese inventors refined and improved upon his original design, building devices of increasing sophistication. Later accounts describe seismographs that could do more than just point toward a quake. They could estimate how far away the epicenter was located. Imagine the power of such an instrument, not only warning of a distant tremor, but also calculating its approximate distance, providing crucial information for dispatching aid or preparing for aftershocks. Some of these advanced mechanisms are believed to have used multiple, carefully tuned pendulums, each designed to react to a different type of seismic wave. The primary wave, which arrives first, is a compressional wave that pushes and pulls the ground. The secondary wave that follows is a shearing motion that shakes the earth from side to side. By detecting the timing and intensity difference between these waves with separate pendulums, the device could triangulate the earthquake's distance. Other inventors reportedly turned to liquid mercury, a heavy, fluid metal that would slosh in highly specific patterns across calibrated channels when different wave frequencies passed through the ground. This sloshing motion could then trigger a mechanism that dropped a ball into a specific container, indicating not just direction, but perhaps even the magnitude or specific nature of the tremor. While very few of these intricate machines survive today, the textual evidence from court records and scholarly writings paints a compelling picture. It reveals a continuous, centuries-long program of research and development dedicated to understanding the Earth's movements. This was not a series of lucky guesses, but a systematic process of observation, mechanical innovation, and iterative improvement. For over 1,000 years, this technological lineage in China represented the most advanced understanding of seismology on the planet, a quiet, persistent science of prediction that listened to the rumblings of the world with a clarity that would not be matched again until the invention of the modern electronic seismograph. How many